Welcome back, everybody, to the World Championship Series. We're here at the Global Finals live in the ESL Studios in Burbank, California. And as you saw in that video, we saw Lilbow with his victory in Poland, and we also saw at the end of it, Lilbow with his World Championship trophy. And now both of them go head-to-head in our next game in the round of 16. Joining me on the couch, as always, is Tilo in control. And the man that started the day is back on the desk. Welcome, Roddy.
Thank you, Sean.
You had a nice break, just. You watched the games.
Yes.
You did pick Zest.
I know.
But the thing is, what I wanted to ask these guys, but we didn't really get to it, is that you were, throughout the series, being, oh, no, Zest, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, there was just a couple moments where I felt that Zest gave too much freedom to Innovation and he was too much in the dark. And I just felt that he was surprised by things that shouldn't have really surprised him. The first few Marines, they just did too much damage in the first two games. That first little move out. Like, if you play against a Terran that goes 3 racks, we're getting really deep now, but you always want to have some sort of map presence, because 3 racks is a lot easier to defend when you see the units actually leave. But instead, he saw the units when they ran into his natural, and that happens to me as well. That's where you're in trouble. That's when you're going to end up losing probes. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed, maybe not the right word, because obviously it's Innovation, and we made jokes backstage as well about how sick he is. But yeah, I know that Zest is capable of putting up a really good fight against Innovation on his best day, but it wasn't his best day, and Innovation, well, Innovation has no bad days. So.
Yeah, and it is a little bit sad, because Zest, last year also lost in the round of 16 in the studio when he went up against Life. But let's have a look at the bracket now, as we are getting closer and closer towards finding the 8 players that will compete live at BlizzCon on Friday, and also, of course, on Saturday. Innovation goes through as our 3rd player, joining Kiro and Classic, but now it turns to Lilbow versus Life. And this is a game that a lot of people obviously have been anticipating, because the last time we saw a non-Korean at BlizzCon was in 2013, when Naniwa played the tiebreaker and got into the main event and went up against Solky, but went out as fast as he got in. This time, we have another opportunity as Europeans to see how well he can do. Before we talk about it, because I know we've got a lot to say on here, we do have, of course, words from both of the players. Let's take a closer look.
안녕하세요. KT 롤스터 소속 저그 이승현입니다.
My name is David Lilbow Mosquito. I play Protoss in StarCraft 2 for Team Millennium. My 2015 years objective was quite good. W Season 2, when I did a final against Hydra. Doing top 2 was a pretty okay result for me. And then I win the World WCS Season 3 and make it to BlizzCon. I'm quite happy now.
DSL 우승했을 때 평범한 수준은 한 것 같아서, 사실 릴보우 선수에 대해서 아는 게 단 하나도 없거든요. 그냥 올라왔구나, 내 상대구나, 그거밖에 모르는데 아무리 준비하셔도 못 이기실 것 같으니까.
To prepare for BlizzCon, I almost didn't practice at all, because it's not that I don't take this match seriously, but I think preparing the transition to LOTV is more important, because I could practice 1 month to maybe only lose in one best of 5.
일단 저를 만난 게 엄청 운이 없는 것 같고, 외국인 선수를 만나게 됐는데 충분히 무난하게 이길 수 있을 것 같아요. 괜히 좀 마음이 아프네요. 외국인 팬들한테 마음이 아프네요.
I know Life is sometimes very tricky, but sometimes very solid as well. I know he has sometimes some peaks, and sometimes he plays quite bad, or quite bad for someone who is supposed to be Life.
릴보 선수가 제가 원래 좀 텀이 있거든요. 이게 우승할 텀이 이제 좀 온 것 같기도 하고, 솔직히 8강은 잘 무조건 올라갈 것 같은데.
Of course, I'm the only non-Koreans at BlizzCon, so I feel a bit lonely. There is a lot of Koreans. I hope my fans will give me some love, so I don't feel lonely anymore. I don't want to spoil too much of my strategies, of course, but I guess it will be maybe a circus.
Very honest and, to be honest, very brutal set of answers there from Life. He was really mean there, and he says it like he means it, Roddy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame him too much. He's the reigning world champ after all, and I do genuinely believe when he says Lilbow, who? Like, okay, I'm sure that eventually he's watched a couple games, because it would just help him so much, especially because Lilbow is not really the most difficult opponent ever to prepare for. If you watch 3 games, you've kind of seen them all.
Yeah. That interview actually is one of the most interesting ones for me from all of these. And have to say, and give me a moment to explain myself, but I'm really disappointed in Lilbow's answer. Like, I don't necessarily disagree with him where he says transitioning to Legacy of the Void is super important, but man, BlizzCon is BlizzCon. Like, take a week or two and focus ideally just on this match. You have the honor of playing Life for gigantic sums of money in the biggest stage. You're signing off on the version of this game that got you here. And it's BlizzCon. I can't say that enough. Like, BlizzCon's such a big deal.
Do we take what he said with a pinch of salt?
No, he's being real.
No,
he's being real.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. If it was Stefano, like, not really, I didn't practice, I'd be like, okay, Stefano, on your 5 accounts, you played 7,000 games. But for Lilbow, I don't think so.
But despite all of this, he's still very confident. He was talking with Fonka outside as well, and he's like, even though I played more Legacy than HOTS, he's like, I'm still confident. I know what to do. And of course, mechanically, he's probably even better than ever right now, because he has been inputting a lot of games, even though the build orders are slightly different. He's been putting in all the hard work. And last but not least, Lilbow generally still believes that his style is unbeatable.
Yeah.
But
well, and me as a European
right.
Zerg, I
do.
agree with that. Like, I think all the Euro Zergs right now really want to see Lilbow win, because it's been so frustrating to play against him, and we've all been saying his style is better than any of the Korean proto styles. So we finally want to see that happen to the Korean Zergs as well.
He's giving it less of a chance, is what I think is a shame.
Yeah, that's what's making me pretty upset, because I would love to see a completely on top of his shape Lilbow face against the Korean Zergs. I agree with that,
Moonlight Madness is going to be the first map, as Bridgehead and Cactus Valley are vetoed. I mean, if I think of Moonlight Madness, that's a very narrow map where obviously Force Fields and Blink Stalkers are going to be pretty damn effective. But just to go a little bit further on what TLO said there as well, he said to Fonka, Lilbow that is, he's like, yeah, I've tried a few other builds, but nothing beats Blink Stalkers, so.
And he's right, and I agree with Darian, and I'm not even a European Zerg. Like, I love his style. It's super strong. It's inspired other European Protosses to do really great things. I'm thinking of Petite Drogo in particular, but like, and you're not wrong either, Kevin. Like, yeah, he is playing a lot of StarCraft, and his style does have some crossover to Legacy of the Void, but it is practicing something else to get ready for HOTS, and that's, as confusing as that sounds, it's not right.
Looking at the first map, though, it really feels like Life did not look up Lilbow. Because you don't want to play Moonlight Madness against Lilbow? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I agree with you, but also Life is hyper-aggressive with like Ling run-bys. You knock down those back rocks, and I think he becomes the biggest pain in the butt you've ever seen on planet Earth.
I mean, before we move to the predictions here, one last thing. What exactly are we expecting? Obviously, from Lilbow, the baguette style, which has become so popular, the stalker heavy play, 3-base play. What are we expecting from Life? Is he going to come out the gates aggressive like he usually does?
If I really have to make one prediction, I predict that Life is going to prevent this style from ever happening. He's going to shut it down before Lilbow even knocks on his door. He's going to shut it down before Lilbow's across the map with his pilot and whatever. So I really think it's going to be a lot about disarming him early on before he can get to work with the unit composition that he's so confident with.
I could see things like a Bird Lynx trying to block the third and like just getting Ling speed really early, and suddenly I mean, we've seen him get into bases when he really shouldn't, and stuff like that can always happen with Life.
One last thing. The videos and the talks with the players recorded yesterday, the day before. Life said he doesn't know anything about Lilbow. Is he lying?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Surely he's not going to come into BlizzCon and not know anything about Lilbow.
He at least asked Hydra, or he talked to a couple of people. Like, that's a very Korean thing to do. And I actually think there's a pretty significant semblance of truth to what he said. I'm sure maybe at the time of the interview or something, he was like, I don't really know that much about him. But he asked, at least. You're at BlizzCon. It's too much for him to be like, nah, I'm not going to worry about it at all.
And let's not forget, they all got coaches over here as well. Do you really think the coach of Live would not even tell him a single thing about Lilbow? That just seems out of this world.
All right. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It is time to get ready for the next game here, and it's an exciting one for sure. A lot of people looking forward to this, and I'm sure you guys at home is just excited as we are here on the couch. Let's go to the commentary team for this one, as Life, the reigning world champion, takes on Lilbow.
That's right. What a tall order for the last non-Korean here to go up against 2014's world champion. But if he were able to defeat him, what a statement it would make after especially what we just heard.
Yeah, two worlds will definitely collide here in this series, Kayla. It says France goes up against Korea, and Protoss goes up against Zerg. Lilbow, it's his best matchup, but again, live, he's shown how good he can be against Protoss as well, not too long ago.
And I really like what Jeff has said on the couch as well. Like the fact that life usually will never let it get to those kinds of situations when it comes to how Lilbow wants to play. Life usually shuts it down before it even starts getting going. Let's get into things. Game number 1 here on Moonlight Madness between Life and Lilbow. As we have spotting down to the bottom left-hand corner, it is our blue Zerg. Representing KT Rolster, it is Life. Always likes to show up and bring it when it matters. Will he this season? As we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, it's our red Protoss. Representing Team Millennium, it is Lilbow.
And if you're newer to StarCraft 2, I'm going to give something to look forward to here between these two. So Lilbow, he likes to rely a lot on Blink Stalkers, which are the core unit here of Protoss. Super versatile, super mobile, and obviously that Blink is going to be very important. Whereas Life, his favorite units, most certainly the Zergling, the most basic unit of the Zergs. He loves to go across the map, try to be active, try to go for run-by, counter-attacks, and sometimes I feel like there should even be another word for the way Life plays with links. It should be sneak by, because sometimes you're even sitting there with a Zealot in your wall and he sneaks by it by using, you know, the spam trick just right behind one Zealot. And once he gets in, usually it's the beginning of the end, because it's going to keep on happening. He keeps on piling up with the aggression, and he does very well in these situations.
Yes, he does. And there's been many a time as well. I think back to 2014, where he's had even just trickier openings against his opponents, and just kind of pulling out very different styles. But
Life, he goes for an extractor after the initial hatchery here. This is not what we've been seeing that much here out of him. I feel like as of late, he was more like pull, hatch, pull. Hatch, pull, and then another hatch on another base. At least in some of the games that he played in the Kung Fu Cup, which is a tournament that took place very recently. He beat 3 Protosses, one of them twice in a row. So he beat Stats twice, he beat Parting and Zest just very recently. So Life definitely showed that he was in strong form. And actually I asked him about this tournament because he was just prior to this tournament here with BlizzCon coming up. I asked him if he had played his best or if he had hidden his strategies and just try to, I guess, build up some momentum and do well. And he told me, no, I was trying my absolute best. So this is very interesting to see how well this has developed and how well he's been playing against Protoss as a whole.
Well, already been spotted here by Lilbow. Did get a full scout off there, and speed has already started with the back of these 2 queens coming out as well. So technically, Life can start threatening very early on a map like this, because there's huge back rocks towards the left-hand side of all the bases here for Lilbow. Technically, those lings could start working on those rocks, opening up big pathways where Lilbow starts after walling off everything.
It's funny, like, also stylistically, these 2 players, they love to play very aggressive. So you think that one of them maybe would mix up some defense instead, because usually if somebody likes to play aggressive, the best thing you can do against it a lot of the time is to play defensively against what they're doing.
There's so many lings in production already.
Yeah.
He's got a ton already out on the field. He's going to go back to those rocks that we were mentioning before and just start working on them so fast.
And usually don't scout for this early on in the game. So Lilbow, he needs to realize very quickly what's going on and maybe take down these rocks here.
Oh, he wanted to find a way in, and he's probably already going to very soon. It's very rare that you actually get that opportunity. Just trying to micro and get these 2 lings in themselves. But the thing is that showing 2 lings at the front is also kind of tricky. You know,
Life is going all in. He's only making lings. This is a massive commitment. 32 probes to 16 drones here right now. He's only going to make lings. And Lilbow needs to realize what's happening. He needs to get a mothership core. He needs to get a full wall here around these rocks on the top left-hand side of his main base. He hasn't sent any probe there to take down the rocks. Lilbow could be in so much trouble. This is looking really bad.
Flood in. This is really going to flood in. There's not much he has available at all. The sentry's going to be kept at the front here, but probably to actually deny it just in case.
This is so fast as well. Like 6 minutes 10, and he's going to walk right inside that main. And Lilbow might just have to say GG pretty much immediately.
Too much. That's too much. He doesn't have any defense against this. He's just walking straight into the main base. He sees a few more links flooding through, but that's huge numbers already. Lilbow is completely caught here, and he's actually throwing down 3 more gateways in the natural. This was good crisis management considering. But at the same time, there's no more extra force fields he has. He's going to try and wall this off, but there's still that destructible debris here. He needs to wall this off with the probes or something, but they've already filtered through. GG, game number 1 goes to life. And the Lings get in regardless. And let's hope for a lot of foreign fans that that is not the precursor to the entire series.
This is not the way Lilbow, I thought this would go down, I think. Did not see that coming, and that's a huge punishment here that was already applied here to Lilbow by Life.
I mean, in essence, in the pre-talk of this series, there was already a lot of disrespect from Life towards Lilbow and his position as a non-Korean.
Yeah.
And that game was just get out of my way.
You know, we always say that Life, he always finds a way, as corny as it sounds, and his Lings, they always get in, but apparently on Moonlight Madness, it's as easy as taking down the rocks and floating in.
Yeah, there was nothing there, no resistance whatsoever. The second map is going to be Cody here, a little bit harder, admittedly, to do something like that. In fact, now impossible to...
Well, I mean, it's Life. He's going to do a sneak bite.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sneak bite. Oh, yeah, sneak bite. Okay. Well...
So funny, years after years, this guy is still as good as he used to be with Zerglings, even when people know it. Everybody knows that he does this stuff, but it's still working.
Yeah.
Time after time, he goes for these Zerglings. He always manages to find a way to get into his opponent's base, because again, this was a massive investment. If Life doesn't get into his opponent's base, and if he's held somehow, I mean, it's just going to be so far behind. As his opponent, you just get a bunch of sentries and Zealot, and it's over. I mean, like, no offense, but the replay was not even that necessary here. Like, Lings just got in and killed Lilbow.
Yeah, it's once this happens, as much as you have one force field, it's not going to be enough. There's no amount of units you can have, because the Zerg has spent so many rounds of lava at that point when you
need
have
to see
no
it
intel.
coming. I'm not sure how. Maybe like have a probe on the map, make sure that you see that gas go down originally, because it went down pretty fast. He was a hatchery gas pull. So you need to see that gas go down and then do a follow-up scout. Maybe try and see at which point there is speed finishing, because you can time it out very nicely. If you see when your opponent starts mining gas, you know, there's like the mathematics that you can do on when speed exactly would finish. And then say, for example, you have a probe on the map. Then if Lings are chasing you and killing you, you will realize when speed finishes, which, to be honest, was maybe going to be a little bit late in this game. Like, you had to start and prepare before this. But Lilbow could have at least checked for his back rocks, I think, and seen it coming and then walled off. He made way too many probes here.
All right, well, Lilbow is back now. We even have his entrance music to show that is the case. And
the music is epic. Much more epic than map number 1, if you ask me.
He sat down and the music came on. It was brilliant. But now he's up against it. Going on to Coda, do you think this is a bit better of a map for him, to be honest?
Yeah, definitely. you know what's funny? When Life played against Sparting in the quarterfinals of the tournament that he played online recently, on Moonlight Madness, he went for Gas 14, Bull 14. Made a bunch of Lings, went across the map and killed Parting.
It's just going to keep happening. We came in today with this idea of, wow, we're going to be here for 12 hours. And everyone's just, Lings, let's go. Let's kill him.
Coda was actually the map, one of the maps that Life lost against Sparting recently when he played against him. So for Lilbow here, I think it definitely would be better if he just played a lot more solid in the start, took a third base, made a lot of big stalkers, and then looked what he's up against and maybe defend. All
right, well, it's time. Game number 2 here between Life and Lilbow. Lilbow currently a very quick one game down here in this best of 5. But all the foreign hopes ride on that man's shoulders to the right-hand side, on Lilbow. We saw him do so well during WCS. But spawning out of the bottom right-hand corner is his opponent. Representing KT Rolster, it is Life.
Doing his thing, just like Innovation.
Doing his thing.
Actually, it's so crazy to think that they would play if he wins here.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And then the Protoss up towards the top are hoping that Life is able to defeat him. And then spawned to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Protoss. It is Millennium's Lilbow.
We've seen miracles somehow happening here from Lilbow in the past, in particular when he played Hydra in last WCS season, and somehow was able to come back after being down not just 0-2, but even lost his Nexus on this very map before heading across the map and winning and starting an amazing comeback. So
I recall.
It's time. This time, don't wait until you're down 2 maps, Lilbow, okay? Like, if you want to do a comeback, now is the time. Very quick gas and very quick pull here. I think this was an Extractor 12. and then a pull shortly after. So
Oh, jeez.
Life is looking to keep on attacking with Zerglings. Lilbow this time around, though, is going to scout, and with the gateway down the ramp, we've seen some solid hold. I think it was from him in the past, when a Zerg tried to rush him.
Yeah, so at least he'll have a good heads up on what's going on already. But at the same time, likewise, Life knows that his opponent is already going to be able to scout this out pretty early. He saw it with his first Overlord moving across. So Life is already kind of thinking away. Does he really want to commit to this? Does he want to just transition on after knowing Lilbow will have the intel?
It's funny to see Life do this kind of build and somehow transitioning at times and, you know, coming up with the best conclusion on what to do that will be best to salvage his build. He's almost like in this way, and I know this is going to sound strange, a Zerg has.
Oh, okay.
Because Has is always going for this crazy build that he hopes people won't see coming, but then when they do see it coming, he transitions very nicely. Life has this same thing where like he goes for a lot of aggression, and where most Zergs will be like, oh god, I'm going Zergling speed with Zerglings. My opponent saw it, it's over. Life is like, no. Actually, it's not over.
Wow.
I either will make it work through aggression, or I will drone back up behind it and somehow pull it off.
Lilbow checked everywhere for a proxy hatchery, just in case, even in his main base.
Life is mining more gas. Is he gonna go for a Baneling Bust or something like a Roach attack?
Oh, he is mining. Oh my god, he's got into Baneling Nest.
I think he realized that with this wall down the ramp and Lilbow's team going for a Nexus, it's gonna be so late for Lilbow to properly get a Mothership Core and Sentries. And so if he can blow up the two pylons, which are gonna be part of the wall, I mean, Life is gonna get in with Zerglings as always.
Yeah. Oh my god. And the thing is that the Banelings are going to do great against the Zealots that are in the wall as well anyway.
Lilbow is not mining gas. He needs to start mining gas right now. He's going to need one Sentry, he's going to need Mothership Core, and he's going to need a good hold here.
Surely Lilbow can't just think it's going to be full Zerglings. The Zerglings see the extent of the wall and the kind of positioning of it and how it's constructed. Whoa, okay, third Zealot comes out. It's really... But the Banelings are going to hit. And he kills off the probe so that he can try and hide the Banelings. But if a Zealot gets walked out and actually kind of sees what's going on...
Oh, this is going to be insane here. Those Banelings are going to detonate not just on the Zealots, but on the pylons as well. And then Lynx will stream in. Life is only getting Zerglings.
This is going to be really difficult. Microing back in. He's just trying to weaken that one Zealot. He's not losing Zerglings against it. He's going to bring the Banelings forwards. There's only 4 of them there at the moment. The 5th one's going to need to move on forwards with this as well. Kills off that one pylon.
Well, that was underwhelming. Mothership Core is now on the way.
Yeah. And there's more Zerglings on the way as well.
Sentry. If he starts a Sentry now and gets it out, he might be okay. He needs to chrono boost that. He can maybe get a bunch of pylons on the right-hand side, but that core is under siege. The Zealot moves out and gets surrounded.
It's got surrounded perfectly here by the Zerglings. He wants to kill it off, and he's going to finish it off as well. He needs to get that Cybernetics core. He needs to finish it off as quickly as he can. Baneling wants to walk through. He needs to get that through so he can kill this off and just get through these buildings.
I don't think the Sentry will come out. The gateway's taking so much damage.
Oh my god, the Zerglings managed to get through. They finally break through all of this. Lilbow, he tried to build the Great Wall, but it wasn't enough.
And now he can't make sentries.
I think
he lost the Cyber Core.
Yeah, he sealed off the wall, though, for just a few more Zerglings. But, I mean, now the probes are under attack. He's not going to be able to mine in time, and it's still actually loose here. There's more and more Zerglings. Banelings being morphed in as well here in the main base. This Mothership Core is all he's really going to have with a few Zealots here and there to try and deny this, but he's already losing probe after probe. This is a catastrophe here for Lilbow. He's down to 4 workers, 3, 2, 1, and that is GG. Life continues to completely destroy Lilbow here with just Lings and Banelings alone.
Wow. It's almost as if Life, he heard the interview of Lilbow. He's like, oh yeah, you've been playing Legacy of the Void. Well, let me remind you of some of these tech and builds that you can go for in Heart of the Swarm. A Baneling Nest is very common to go for when you think your opponent's not going to be mining gas this early on in game, and goes for a greedy Nexus after spotting that you had been opening in such a greedy way.
It really feels like Life just sees Lilbow as a stepping stone, nothing more. This is a brutalizing. Lilbow is
a stepping stone, literally.
Yeah, this is really, really difficult for him at this point. I mean, Lilbow has got Terraform now as his next map to try and solidify himself on, but well, he might just go back to same old, but Life might just get aggressive again.
This may be his greatest challenge yet. After a crazy comeback against Hydra, he now needs to do the exact same thing here against Life, the defending champion who... It's so funny, like again, Life, he's been doing this for such a long time and he's still doing it and it's still working. Like, how is this possible? You think that these players by now would have learned to properly scout and defend against him, but it's just not happening. It's just so hard. He had just perfectly every single time. I feel like if Life had chosen to go into economy here behind his initial Zerglings and speed, he would have been behind. He made the best choice by far. By seeing the wall of Lilbow, he knew that there were going to be pylons as part of the wall. He knew that he was going to have enough Zerglings. Went for the Bailing Nest. Perfect choice. Wins the game.
Brilliant stuff. Now we get into game number 3 here. Life at the moment on that left-hand side. He's on cruise control. He is just making lings and making it work. And oh my god. Oh my god. Up to the top left-hand corner, it's our blue Zerg representing KT Rolster. It is Life who, right now...
In every game, he's been making his pull a little bit earlier. And now this is the last level, the final boss, the pull 6.
He is telling the non-Koreans to get out of BlizzCon. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, it's our red Protoss representing Millennium. It is Lilbow.
Try again next year. Maybe you get somebody easier. Wow, this poor Lilbow, if he goes out this way, this is so sad.
I cannot believe. Life is just relentless.
Yeah. This, you might say, you know, he's up 2-0. He might as well try something, but still, like, he takes incredible guts to actually go for something like this here.
Yeah, this is very, very difficult here now for Lilbow, who
the problem is so fast.
The problem is Lilbow is a mental edge, or any mental edge he would have had in the series. It might be shot because of the way in which the last 2 games have gone. I think you would go up against a 6 pool. Life even going into... Oh my god.
I don't even want to imagine what like all the Korean pro gamers are thinking of right now, like who are in these tournaments, seeing this match. They're like, hey, we kind of hope more non-Korean qualify next season and we get them, because...
Well, here comes the probe and here come the lings.
We've seen Miracle defenses. Miracle come back from Lilbow in the past. It's now time for another one. He needs to react. I'm pretty sure he's going to go down for a Forge down the ramp. Perfect wall and go for a cannon in the main. There's actually a chance he salvages this situation very well here.
This is very, very important here, because all he has to do is buy time. The pylon's already going down in the main base, so all he has to do is make sure that Forge survives, or at least finishes, and then start a cannon in the main.
Life is getting more links. He's not even going to go into drones behind this. He's going completely all in. Lilbow's got way more probes. If he can get a cannon in his main, he'd be in a great position.
He also has to know what's up.
Forge can't finish soon enough.
Yeah, he has to know what's up. Life has to know what's going on. He knows a Forge is going down. He knows there's a pylon behind all of this as well. He has to break through here and then get in there as quickly as possible, because now he knows with the Forge finishing up, a cannon has already begun. The probes are going to have to micro themselves around this cannon here to try and protect it for as long as possible. The gateway is going to slow down these links from getting in. He's building an entire wall around it, so the cannon has a good chunk of time here to actually finish. This is good control here so far by Lilbow, but now he has to go to combat. Needs to buy as much time as possible for that cannon to finish, but it's already got on top of these links here, right in the position, but I think he might be able to buy enough time, but there's so many probes already dying off. Cancels the pylons, needs as many probes, minerals as possible, and he has bought enough time.
Yeah, Lilbow comes out of this here with 12 probes against just 7 drones. Life made a single drone here behind this. He made links for way too long, and in the end that didn't work, but behind this he's gonna start building up his own economy. Now Queen's about to come out as well. If Lilbow had survived with a few more probes, I'd comfortably say that he's quite a bit ahead, but right now I'm not sure we should be able to say so, really, even though he's got 14 probes here.
I think one of the important things during all of this was he had that gateway finishing up, or at least built in there and finishing up while all this was going on, right? So it doesn't put him too slight behind when it comes to that tech or anything like that. Of course, Life is still behind in economy, but having this gateway finished up and good to go, always knowing the one at the front was going to die is very important.
Yeah. It's really cool that Lilbow had a probe out on the map as well. He saw that Life never started a second hatchery, which actually, look at this. Life is still manning gas. Is it time for another Bailing Nest?
Oh my god, it could be.
I don't see what else he could be here. Unless he goes for a Roach one, but he's way too broke for this.
The scary thing is as well is he can deny any
he might go Burrow.
Scouting.
I think he will go Burrow actually, because no Bailing Nest has started yet. So if he goes Burrow, he can block the natural of Lilbow, because Lilbow's not going to be able to take his natural anytime soon. So TLO also mentioned this, you know, this possibility of getting Burrow really slowing down somebody like Lilbow who loves to expand. I think he meant it more for a third base, but I guess we'll settle for the natural being blocked as well.
All right, well, speed's going to be the choice here with more links still being produced. Life looks to overwhelm by the looks of things. I mean, he's still got 8 more links in production here.
So getting speed, that means he's going to go for another wave of mass links? Because he's only making links here right now.
It's no more gas, so it's not like a Baneling maneuver or anything, but he's going to be going up against the Mothership core that's slowly gaining energy.
I think Life he wants to set up a big attack at the natural here because he knows that Lilbow might try to rush for that Nexus a little bit too early, and he wants to make sure that the series in total doesn't last longer than 30 minutes. So he's just going to get links, attack that natural base here of Lilbow as speed finishes, surround the Zealots, and say GG.
But looking at the situation, Todd, isn't this the best situation Lilbow has been in all
if
series?
If he's walled off, yes. But if he gets caught and his Zealots get surrounded, he's done.
And the thing is, again, still no information here is being assimilated by Lilbow, other than the fact that the original links are still there.
Speed's about to finish, Kailaris. I'm afraid for Lilbow. If he was standing at his ramp, he would have had 3 Zealots completely wanting it off, but now he's going to get surrounded by all of these links.
Yeah, they're going to come in from either side. If he's not careful, and here they come already. The Zealots trying to scramble back to actually a defensive position, but they're not even going to be able to get so. The links actually try to dive up forwards here towards that towards the main base, but they're already getting on towards the natural. There's no way the Mothership Core has DPS for that at all. And
Lilbow is not out of it just yet, though.
He has fought an overcharge. He can hold this off for a little while. The sentry's still in there.
He can hold this off forever. Assuming he gets his gateways and warp gate finishes.
This is kind of why I figured that a Baneling Nest would have been something to go for, but
Life has to expand behind this. It's still 16 drones to 23 probes.
Yeah.
Lilbow, he's had a few scrappy defenses, and I think this may yet be another one of them. Somehow he stayed alive.
I
thought he might get desperate and really try to defend his natural, but in the end it was a mistake by Life to attack that Nexus. Because then he got it cancelled and the photon overcharge was used in the main. He should have let Lilbow try to use that, but no, he might try to go for a bust, but there is a sick wall here in the main.
And the thing is, Lilbow now knows how many, he sees all of the links that Life has committed to during all of this. He knows that his opponent's economy is pretty much in tatters, so all he has to do is kind of really defend, or it was in tatters before because of how many links are here in terms of the lava.
Life is now very nicely catching up in the drone count, though. So Life, I feel like he's going to threaten that natural base of Lilbow for as long as he can, and once there is enough by Lilbow, he's just going to pull back. Usually, sacrificing his links will be a big mistake.
And the problem with just a few sentries alone, it wasn't enough to really get down here towards that natural. Now Lilbow, with a few Zealots in the mix, slowly moving down there, has an opportunity. This feels like...
a 5th gateway.
Uh-oh.
Could Lilbow be thinking about going for his own attack here? Because again, when you have this many sentries and Zealots, if there is only Zerglings to face you, no Banelings and no Roaches, you might be able to do really good.
Yeah.
And then he's going to go for it.
Oh my
enough
God.
is enough. You want to play aggressive, it's my turn.
Does Life sniff this out? He's making a spine crawler. Yes, he does sniff it out. He's actually getting Burrow as well, importantly. And
the probe.
Oh, looking to threaten the probe. If he could get that probe, that'd be perfect for him. But I don't think Lilbow is ever going to let that go down too easily. And now with these sentries having moved past that location, well, technically they could have force fielded that off and slowed them down. But they're not just yet.
Mothership Core is actually staying at home, and Lilbow warped in a bunch of Zealots there. I think he's had enough of getting surrounded and losing Zealots that he's actually afraid of getting caught in the middle of the map.
Life sees no natural. He sees no natural with a Ling, so he's got more spines going down. The Roach Warren's on the way. More Lings are in production here. He knows that he is under threat at the same time.
I really like actually the cancel on the Burrow. Life here really identified what he was up against. Going for 3 spines is perfect. He's getting the Roach Warren. And unless Lilbow pulls off a miracle here once again with the force fields and takes a perfect fight, he's going to be so hard.
He's going to catch the reinforcements.
There's a few force fields to work with.
Yeah, there is. I don't think it's enough either, these Lings. I think they might be sacrificing themselves. But I mean, of course, it's for the greater good because he's buying more time. He's buying more time for the Roaches to get out towards the front, one would think. But at the same time, this is still quite a force itself. But he doesn't want to get force field off against all of this. And he will do. 3 spine crawlers here might not be enough. The Queen is going to actually add on a little bit extra damage, but it doesn't have an injury for transfuses. One of the spines actually already falls here. Second one, it's kind of going down, and there's not that many Lings left over. The Roaches need to pile out, but he got the pylon. There's no more extra reinforcements here with the Roaches coming out. It's only sentries left for Lilbow. He has nothing left here, and with that, that is GG, and Life will take the series 3-0, and he moves on to the round of 8. The world champion from last year continues his campaign here in 2015.
What is going on here? 3 zeros 3 times in a row at the World Championship. These players are not messing around. They want to go straight to the finals. All these championship caliber players, they just look at their first round and are like, well, just a stepping stone. Let's get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And Life, in what fashion as well?
That was
quick pull and mass links every single game.
Those
Not
are some
messing
crazy
around.
games. Yeah, he brought it very, very fast there to Lilbow. And that is the campaign of Lilbow here. Last non-Korean in the World Championship Series, now done here. That's a bit unfortunate for him, but...
That was a sad series for Lilbow, definitely.
Yeah.
You don't expect any best of 3 to ever go like this, where it's going to end so abruptly and you're going to be getting caught off guard so many times in a row.
I think overall, though, the positive thing for him, and we heard it from him before, though, is that he is always looking forward. He is looking forward to Legacy of the Void and looking forward to make his fans proud of him there. And I think a lot of people are proud of him for making it to the round of 16
Maybe
alone here.
It's like in boxing.
WCS.
He only built up for the rematch. You know, he lost the first match, but then he'll be back in Legacy of the Void next year, facing Life in round 1.
Imagine that. Imagine that. But for now, guys, we can head over to Chobra, who's with our round of 8 contender. It is Life.
It looked like Lilbow was just waiting for the end as Life bulldozed through that best of 5, winning 3-0. And it looked like you were trying to set a record in how fast the match can go. 저 이번 그 16강에서 거의 무슨 최고 스피드로 이기는 기록 세우려고 하시는 것 같았어요. 아니, 뭐 그런 계획을 그러니까 진짜 이거는 나 빨리 이길 수 있다 그런 계획으로 들어오셨나요?
그냥 VOD를 분석해봤는데 웬만해서 다 더블을 하더라고요. 입구에 심시티를 하거나. 그래서 그냥 뭘 써도 찌르면 그냥 죽겠다 그 생각을 했어요.
Yeah, I went through his VODs a couple times, and I realized no matter what, he usually, he'll do a little bit of blocking in the front, but it looked like, he's always going to go for the doubles and double base, and if I just attack early, he's just going to fall. Like, I just realized that, and so every map, that was my strategy going in. Then, of course, you also said in the interview, like, you feel kind of sorry for him and the fans out, outside of Korea that were rooting for Lilbow, and you said basically that this was going to be an easy game. Is that how you see everyone else too? Because you are the reigning WCS Global Final champion. 그럼 저희가 이제 인터뷰에서 그 릴보우 선수에게 좀 마음이 아프기도 하고 상대를 해야 됐기 때문에 그렇게 말씀해 주셨는데 이번 블리츠컨에서 그럼 다른 선수들도 그냥 별로 크게 신경 안 쓰이시나요? 왜냐면 지금 작년에 이제 우승하셨잖아요.
이신영 선수만 일단 이긴다면 웬만해서 결승 가지 않을까. 반대쪽에 토스가 2명이라서 그렇게 생각하고 있어요.
I think as long as I beat Innovation, I think I'll definitely make it to the finals here at BlizzCon 2015. I mean, there's 2 Protoss on the other side. I think I'm pretty safe to make it to the finals as long as I can break their Innovation. So Innovation on the radar. Why Innovation? I mean, do you agree that he's simply just riding momentum right now, that he's back in really good form? 이신영 선수는 왜 딱히 그러면 좀 더 신경이 쓰이시나요? 뭐 지금 이신영 선수도 이제 본인이 지금 좀 물 타고 있고 물이 올랐고 좀 굉장히 컨디션이 좋다 그렇게 말씀을 하셨는데 그러면 라이프 선수도 그거에 그냥 동의를 하시는 건가요? 아니면 뭔가 그냥 이신영 선수는 항상 좀 잘하는 것 같다 그런 생각이 드시나요?
항상 잘하는 것 같기도 하고 요즘 또 기세도 좀 탔고. 일단 제가 토스는 안 진다는 생각이라서 그냥 테란전 말고는 그런 것 같아요. 그래서 좀 힘들 것 같아요.
Well, I have to say, like he said, yeah, he's riding the momentum really well right now. He's always been good, and I come in thinking that I'm not going to lose to Protoss. So as long as I can beat the Terran that's left, I should be okay going up to the finals. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this was Life. Moving on to the quarterfinals here at the WCS Global Finals 2015.
Thank you very much, Chobra. In a dominant performance, in celebration of the performance, I've decided to get my slippers out because that's all we saw in that series was these guys. And it was a very, very one-sided series, Tilo. And I know you had a couple of thoughts. We talked about it very briefly just now, but go ahead and continue, or at least start where you were going to go.
To be honest, I'm actually quite upset about, the way Lilbow played and maybe also prepared for the match, because he said in the interview he's looking forward to Legacy of the Void and wants to be the best in it. But I feel that is exactly the attitude foreigners always have, is I'm focusing on the future and I want to become the best someday. But if you want to become the best, you need to be the best now and as soon as possible. And I think it showed on the games. I know it is hard to practice Legacy of the Void right now, but
Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, Heart of the Swarm, because of Legacy of the Void. Everybody's switching in Europe, but he could have put in more effort. And this was not the Lilbow we know. It was just a shadow. And it's not the representation we wanted to have here.
Yep.
Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the hardest beatdowns across StarCraft I've ever seen. And I myself have created quite a few of the worst beatdowns you could ever create. And I say this as an expert. That was one of the worst beatdowns I've ever seen. It's at BlizzCon, too. And it's like, it's, you know, one of the questions we have is like region locking and like, should we give it more fair share to foreigners? I mean, not to, we're going to spend a little bit of time on this because this is honestly the thing worthwhile to talk about after this series, and it's going to take longer than the entire series combined. But like, life goes into this, like, I don't know who he is, and after this match, he still doesn't know who he is, and he has no respect for Lilbow, who we're holding up on the pedestal as the best foreigner right now. He won WCS Season 3 in incredible fashion, and then to be like, nah, you know, I'm practicing Legacy Void, and people on Twitter were saying stuff like, it's really hard to practice for Haas right now. Dario can attest that. It is. But is it impossible? Absolutely not. And do you need to spend every single second you can practicing for someone like Life? I hope so, because you're playing in front of the entirety of StarCraft on the biggest stage possible against one of the most amazing opponents. Like, Life is one of the coolest guys we've seen in StarCraft 2. And this match was crappy. It was a crappy match.
And especially the way Life played, it could have been easy victories for Lilbow, because this is not a legitimate style that is supposed to still work. So if he would have done his homework and maybe kept his cool a bit more, there could have been slight adjustments in his builds, and he just takes it. You know, it wouldn't have been even difficult if you don't make the basic mistakes that foreigners always seem to make when they have to face Koreans in this really big matches.
And I think it's important to note too, by the way, we're being harsh, and I think we're being harsh of a guy that you can be harsh to. Like, Lilbow is a champion and one of the absolute best. And we have seen some of the coolest games, like his comeback at WCS Season 3, where he just lost his natural. He's up against the wall against Hydra, a guy that has already put him down 0-2 in a best-of-5, and he drives it back to make history. He deserves our criticism because he can take it, and if he wants to be one of the best in Legacy of the Void, which now he can look forward to, he's got to rethink the way he thinks about it. Because if he goes to a big tournament and is like, I'm focused on the other stuff,
I mean, let's jump into game now. I mean, obviously we have footage of this. Roddy, I would love, obviously, for you to talk a little bit about this as well, because you've played against these stars before. You've played against that guy on the ladder who does the same thing.
These are NA ladder builds. That's what they are, like, in all honesty. And it doesn't matter if he's been practicing a lot of Legacy of the Void or not. You cannot play on Moonlight Madness and not check not one, but both of your backdoor rocks. Come on, this is the only map in StarCraft history with 2 backdoors, and he doesn't have a probe on patrol, didn't open up with a Mothership Core. Like, looking at his build, what he wants to do is he wants to be the cheeser. It was probably a 7-gauge with a Warp Prism, force him out of his main or something like that, because he went Robo before Mothership Core. But come on, have 1 probe on patrol, because then you can actually deal with that.
He even saw gas, early gas.
Yes. Game number 2, I mean, this is more of the same. I was personally very, very surprised by his approach of defending a 13 gas, 12 pool over here. Dario, you can take it from here, but I was very surprised by his approach.
I thought it might be able to work out because he did it so confidently that I thought he maybe has played against that and held it before. But as you said correctly, he should have went for Forge, because it's unnecessary to take that big of a risk against such an early aggression build.
And guys, let's get one thing clear. In that game on Coda, that was actually a good scenario for Lilbow. He goes pylon, gate, and he scouts it as quick as one could possibly wish for. So on that point, all you have to do is just secure your ramp, and then you can expand. You don't have to worry about links like denying that expand. What happened on this map, that's a different scenario, but Coda was a really good, scenario. That's normally a scenario that any Protoss player would be very, very happy with. And to see that our best non-Korean, our best foreigner, our WCS champion, see him die against that, that does sadden me.
And this puts Life in a good spot too, by the way, because
he didn't review anything.
These are not his builds. It's not what you're going to see from him. You're going to see a lot of Link stuff, but not in this way. And now he's going up against a slew of Protoss players. Well, actually, I think in the bracket he has Innovation next, right, or something like that. But he's not showing his good stuff yet.
Well,
good for him.
The Windows 10 game DVR function there, which has been excellent to look at, over and over the compilation of games that we can provide here. Roddy, let's take a more positive spin now. Life is through to the quarterfinals. He's going to be going up against Innovation, and they have had history. Over the years now, they've played multiple times in the past, in multiple finals as well. And this is something that obviously a lot of fans are going to be looking forward to.
Needless to say, it doesn't matter what race you play. Innovation vs. Live is one of the absolute best matchups that we could ever wish for as StarCraft fans. And I think it's safe to say that most people will lean towards Innovation right now just because of how hot he's been over the last few months. But we're talking about our reigning WCS champ. We're talking about the GSL champ of Season 1. They don't really come much better than Live. And he even said it in his interview as well. It doesn't really matter how I performed over the last few months. It matters that I peak at this weekend. So it's a couple days away. We don't have to worry about it too much yet, but it's as good as it's going to get.
I
in
like seeing the
StarCraft
old
universe.
life in the interviews too, by the way, because there have been times, I don't know what it was, maybe it was just the mood he was in, but they'll ask questions of him and he gives the most generic, humble answers. But the life that I became a huge fan of was the guy a few years ago and still now, where they ask him questions like, I don't know who that is. And he's like, I don't see a chance of losing. And like, it's really fun to get behind that guy.
And
it's going to be cool.
It's going to be life's true test. I mean, he's going up against the #1 in form, and he's meant to be the #1 in terms of, the reigning champion and the title holder. So it will be a very, very cool series. We are going to take a very quick break now, gentlemen. It's time to prepare ourselves for our next game that's coming up. It's going to be Reign versus Port, a series that a lot of people are looking forward to. Do make sure to join us on social media. The usual methods. It is, of course, the hashtag WCS for all your thoughts. Perhaps you've got some on Lilbow versus Life you'd like to share with us. Perhaps you've got some predictions of your own for the next coming game. We're going to take that quick break, and when we return, next series is on its way.